Today we're going to take a second look at a battleground state for the 2024 election and see which way it might be trending. The lucky state this time is going to be out west, and that's going to be Nevada. This map already shows us some shifts. These are between 16 and 20 on a presidential level. A lot of blue lines on this map. The vertical lines indicate turnout, but if you look at Nevada, you can actually see a little bit of red around Las Vegas. It's not significant, but that, along with some demographic shifts, has given Republicans some hope of flipping this state that hasn't gone red in a couple of decades. So let's look closer into the silver state and get a little bit of background. First, we can see it has 6 electoral votes, and that has not changed since the previous election. So the population here has increased, but not at the rapid rate it used to. And if you look at the recent presidential results, we can see last time Biden won the state by about 2.4, and that's almost the exact same margin as it was in 2016. The difference between 16 and 20 is there was a lot less third-party vote, and with that reduction, both Biden and Trump went up the same amount. That was 2.2%. Now, prior to 16, Obama won the state twice comfortably, especially in '08, where he won it by double digits. But back in the early 2000s, Republicans carried the state twice under George W. Bush. It supported Clinton twice in the '90s, and then before that, the state was overwhelmingly red. Republican support there got into the mid-60s, and then back in '76, it was much more competitive, but Republicans carried it by about 4 points. So let's look closer at the last election. Again, we've got Biden with just over a majority of the vote. Trump was under 48%. The most third-party vote this time was Joe Jorgensen with over 1%. And also, Nevada allows none of these candidates on the ballot, and they pulled in 1%. Now, if you go down and take a look at the county map, you can familiarize yourself with the two major cities, Reno in the northwest, and of course, Las Vegas in the southeast. Now, down below, there's not a ton of counties, but if you sort them by the total number of votes cast, you can see where all the population is. Biden won Clark County by 9 points. Then in Washoe County, where Reno is, it was closer, but Biden carried it by 5. Then after that, the population drops off significantly, but in every one of those remaining counties, Trump won them by double digits, many of them by 40, 50, or more point margins. So once you add all that up, it turned into a small win for Biden. Now, if you want to look at some of the shifts in these counties, we could get on Ballotpedia, and this time the shading does not indicate the margins. This just shows you how often they voted for the Democrat or the Republican in the past 3 presidential elections. So we've got to start where all the population is in Clark County, and this is by far where all the population is. Over 70% of the state lives just in this one county. So if you're going to be competitive in this state, you can't lose this county by too much. So if we look at the trends, going back to the Obama days in 2012, he won the county by almost 15 points. In 16, with more third-party vote, the margin narrowed. Trump pretty much did the same as Romney, but Hillary did 4 points worse than Obama. Then if you go to the last election, both Biden and Trump's support went up, but Biden's support was a little over 1 point, while Trump's was almost 2.5. So in a county that has this much population, just a single point could have a critical impact. And considering Trump did better last time compared to his first run, that is a reason to give Republicans hope in this state. So you don't necessarily have to win this county to win the state. Now, if we look at the other significant county in the opposite end of the state, Washoe County, where Reno is, does have a big chunk of population, but it's considerably less than Clark. Back in the Obama-Romney days, Obama won the county by over 3.5. Then in 16, Hillary won it by more than 1 point. In 2020, Biden did the same as Obama, so he went up more than 4. Trump also went up, but it was only by a little over 1 point. So Trump gained in Clark, but in Washoe, it went in the other direction toward Biden. Now, if you look at some of the other places, Trump won all of them by double digits. The narrowest was here in Carson City, but if you look at all the rest, then Trump's level of support easily gets well into the 60s and 70s. Even right above Clark County, Lincoln County voted for Trump by more than a 70-point margin. Very few people live here, you have to keep that in mind, but once you add up all these red counties, it starts to change the margin statewide by at least a few points. Now, the next thing we could do is get on this map here, and this will show you the 2020 presidential data down to a precinct level. So at first, it starts off with the mostly red state, with the blue in the northwest in Reno and in the southeast in Las Vegas. So let's zoom in on the Las Vegas area. We can see in most of the city itself, Biden won these precincts by gigantic margins. The vote starts to change to light blue and then light red once you get more into the suburbs. Now, what we can do is click right here, and this will show you the shifts between 16 and 20. If we do that, then all of a sudden we actually see a lot of red in Las Vegas and some surrounding areas. So in all these places, Trump actually made gains. Some of the shifts are a little bit more subtle in low single digits. Some of them do get over 10 points. And once you add all that up, that's the reason that Clark County did move a little bit toward Trump and away from Biden. It doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but it does show you where some movement is if Republicans are looking to continue those trends. Next, we can move on to this map here, which has the the red and the blue arrows, and these are again the shifts between 16 and 20. The bigger the arrow, the bigger the shift. And as you can see, most of the counties did move toward Trump, but there are some that did actually shift a little bit toward Biden, including Washoe in the Northwest. And we can also click on any one of these counties for a more detailed breakdown. Washoe is important, but given the overwhelming significance of Clark County, let's take another look at it. So you can see here, both Biden and Trump did gain raw votes. Biden actually gained just a little bit more, under 120,000, while Trump was under 111. But also keep in mind, there was a big third-party vote reduction. It was down more than half. That's a raw 3.8% reduction, all the way down to just 2%. And throughout all those shifts, Trump did narrow the gap. Biden went up 1.2, but Trump went up 2.6. So in this pivotal county, Trump made a gain, but it just was not enough to flip the state. You could also do the same thing for every other county. But another thing that might matter in this state are going to be the shifts among specific demographics. Here is the exit polling specific to Nevada, and you can see Trump won men by 9 points, while Biden won women by 14. Biden easily won voters under age 45. Trump was able to carry voters over 45. Something a lot of people talk about, especially for this state and especially for Las Vegas, that's going to be the racial or ethnic shifts. And if you look at that part of the exit polling, last time in 2020, white voters went for Trump by 8. Black voters voted for Biden by 60. Hispanic voters did go toward Biden, but it was by 12 points. And then Asian voters went toward Biden by a more robust 25 points. So if Kamala Harris is able to hold those margins with these different demographics, obviously she's going to win the state. If Trump is able to boost his support, especially with white voters that make up most of the vote, or with Hispanic voters by 2 or 3 points, or any other combination of the different demographics, that could be enough to put the state in his column. Now you can also look at all the other breakdowns with education, income, religion, etc. But another factor to consider is going to be the voter enthusiasm, which is going to translate into the turnout. This map here shows you the turnout in the 3 most recent federal elections. If you go to Nevada, in the blue wave of 2018, the turnout was 46.3%. In 2020, it spiked all the way up to 66. Then the top number shows you what it was back in 2022. There it sank lower to where it was in 18, just under 46. I would expect the turnout to be somewhere between 18 and 20. And keep in mind, Nevada is now a mail-in ballot state, so it might be harder to predict the turnout, and who knows how long it would take to count all the ballots. So as of recent years, this has pretty much become a purple state. In the 2022 midterms, both Democrats and Republicans won several statewide offices. In this election here, Republicans actually flipped the governor's mansion. Joe Lombardo defeated incumbent Steve Sisolak. But the thing to take note of here is Lombardo lost both Clark as well as Washoe counties. That's where everybody lives, but he was still able to win the state. The trick for him was to keep the margin narrow in Clark County, and here he lost it by 6. It also matters that he ran it up pretty big in the deep red counties, but he also lost Washoe by 1.5. So it does make for a fascinating state when it comes to some of these elections. But the last thing we can do is take a look at the polling accuracy back in 2020. So again, Biden won the state by about 2.4, but the aggregate polling had him ahead by about 4 points. On Real Clear Politics, it was actually spot on at 2.4. So it looks like a little bit of an overestimation of support for Biden. The individual polls right before the election all had Biden ahead except for Trafalgar. There seems to be a sense in this state that the polling does underestimate support for Democrats, but in this we can see that it actually did underestimate support for Trump by 1 to 2 points. So with all that said, which way will Nevada trend? I know Republicans are bullish that it's going to move toward their direction. We saw the trends in Las Vegas. They did get a little bit redder, but there's no guarantee those trends are going to continue, and even if they did, that still might not be enough to flip the state. We can also see in Washoe County that got a little bit bluer. So maybe Harris is able to squeeze even another point out of Washoe. Even if Trump gains another point in Clark, maybe the red counties are not as red and the state stays with the Democrats. That's entirely possible. We have seen a lot of polling with Trump ahead prior to Biden getting out of the race. Now with Harris, it does make it more complicated, and both of them are going to be competing for this state. Its 6 electoral votes are not exactly the most critical. Trump won the state in 16 without carrying it, but I think there's enough there for both sides to feel optimistic as well as concerned about. If the Las Vegas trends continue, the state could flip. If they don't, or they go back toward the left, obviously the state is going to stay blue. I think once we get more into October and have a better sense of the enthusiasm for each side, that's when we might have a little bit better idea of what's going to happen. It also might be tough to trust the polling as well as factor in the third-party candidates, so who really knows what's going to happen, but that's an overview of some of the recent political history for Nevada. So let me know in the comments, which way do you think this state is going to trend? Is it going to get better but still stay blue overall? Could it shift toward Harris and the Democrats, or is Trump going to make a significant gain in this state and win it by 3 or 4 points? What do you think is going to happen in Clark and Washoe counties with the different demographics? Let me know down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.